Meeting to order. Please stand for the invocation and the pledge of allegiance.
No, we have to have roll call first. Yes, we have to have roll call.
Everybody's here.
That makes me feel better.
Burns,
Yo.
Sharpman, King,
Here.
King, Causer,
Here.
Lashos,
Here.
Lehman,
Here.
Mowerhand, Mosier,
Here.
Dahlhoff.
Here.
Thank you.
Try again.
Now we can stand for We gather together here today intent on doing good work. We seek to represent fairly and well those who have given us this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve with respect for all. May our personal faith give us strength to act honestly and well in all matters before us. Turn for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes of the February 6th meeting have been distributed. If there are no comments or corrections, I would accept the motion to approve.
No, they're just approved. No motion.
Stand approved. Report of the Rules and Legislation Committee for Rule 6.
The Rules and Legislation Committee is met, and they recommend to waive the rules to act upon late resolutions this evening. Now we need a motion to accept.
Motion by Brian, second by Dick. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Okay, now I would announce that the Lewis County Republican Committee Chairman, Michael Young, has provided a letter thereby recommending to the Board of Legislators to appoint Thomas A. Osborne to fill the vacancy for Legislative District Number 9 representative. And you all have your resolution number 71, which is to appoint Thomas A. Osborne to fill that vacancy in District Number 9.
We have a motion for that. Jerry, second. Greg. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So, Ron, would you escort Mr. Osborne to his chair?
All right.
Right
Over here. Can you sit there? Let's take a little
Nameplate there? All right.
Thomas Osborne.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New
of
York,
the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of legislator
of legislator
therein for the county of Lewis,
and for the county of Lewis,
according to the best of my
according to the best of my ability.
ability.
Right, thank you.
Tom has a well, I don't think he's worked there. Hello.
I can hear you.
Mary, you need to flip the switch. Right, just that Lisa. No, that's not yours. Yep,
I think it works now.
yeah.
Good job, Adam.
Maybe I just haven't moved.
Just needed you, Adam.
I just scared it.
Yep.
Tom has a well-rounded, broad platform of life experiences to draw from. He served in the military, he was a village policeman, he was a manager of Lavo Producers, he ran his own business, he was on the South Louis School Board. With that, I believe he has the foundation to help us make decisions to help keep the county moving forward. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you.
Now I need to announce all the work that you get to do. You are chair of the Public Health Community Service Legislative Committee, as well as the Hospital and Services, Social Services, Employment and Training Office, Office for the Aging, and the Youth Committees. At this point, I'll open the public hearing for comments on inclusion of the village, parentheses, Melvin McHugh property into the agricultural district, and for opening a section of County Route 28, Liberty Road in the town of Montague for snowmobile access. Is there anyone here who would like to comment on either of those two issues?
If we have a question, we wait till later, right?
Let's say wait until later, ran out
No,
of time.
right now, if you've got one that's relative to those issues.
In regards to the first one, are there other properties in the village of Lowell that are in the agricultural district?
Frank, would you like to address
Yes,
that?
there are, and actually that piece of property that Mr. McHugh owns is within the ag district, the primary. The small portion that was added to it was not in the district, so by adding that small portion, it is now inclusive of the larger parcel which is in the village.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Privilege of the floor. Is there anyone here that would like to make comments on any subject? Leanne?
Yes. On any subject, yes. You didn't think I'd go a whole night without speaking, did you? Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I'm obviously here to speak about the resolution for the part-time assistant district attorney. I'd like to begin by thanking you for your consideration for this position tonight. I'd like to begin by thanking the Courts and Law Committee for your support in putting this forward. We had debate for a very long time over this subject, and I appreciate the debate. I appreciate the fact that while we may have disagreed at times, that you listened to me. And as a department head, I probably speak for all the department heads when I say that as I stand here before you today, thanking you, I thank you for listening and for taking into consideration a department head's needs, a department head's requests, a department head's position. And when we come to you, we don't come willy-nilly. We don't come, just saying, hey, this is just a whim. This is an important need, particularly for the criminal justice system and the protection of our citizens here in this community. And you listened, and you balanced your needs and your responsibility as committee members and boards of the legislature, and you weighed that against the financial needs of this community, and we came to a compromise. And that being a part-time position, and you put that through to the Human Resources Committee, and I came before you, and we discussed it, and we debated, and you put that through with your support. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate your support here tonight. And I appreciate members of the criminal justice system who are here tonight in support of the criminal justice system and in support of the part-time position. I appreciate members of the Lewis County Sheriff's Office who you can see here tonight, Investigator Emilio, Sheriff Carpinelli. I appreciate members of the Level Village Police Department, Chief Roby. I appreciate Matt Martin, who's a patrolman with the Level Village Police Department. Lewis County Opportunities, Mary and Amanda, who are here in support, who work with me on a daily basis to give protection to the victims of these crimes. Child Advocacy Center, who is a new endeavor that we have done in this county in connection with Jefferson County, Shauna, who is here in support, who understand the needs of our department because they work with us on a daily basis. And all members of the community who understand, it's my understanding, having just been outside, that the survey that you got from JCC who did this indicates for the first time in 11 years, the #1 concern of citizens was drugs. Which I've often said when I come to the meetings, I sound like the Chicken Little says the sky is falling. And we don't like giving bad news. We don't like giving disturbing news. We don't like giving disconcerting news. We don't like saying these horrible things are happening in our county, but they are. And they put burdens on our office. You've received ad nauseum at times the statistics from our office in terms of the increased caseload to these wonderful officers who are out there doing their jobs, to the victim advocates for the crimes of sexual abuse and physical abuse. And what we want to do is serve this community, serve your citizens to the best of our ability. And sometimes we need help. And so I appreciate your support here tonight. I appreciate the message that you are sending to our departments, to our department heads, that you listen to us. I know one of the resolutions, and excuse me for speaking sort of on behalf of everybody else, but to Frank Pace, to give a raise to someone, to be a competitive raise and salary for someone in the department so that you can keep those people here. That's fabulous. A $6,000 raise is fabulous that you're considering that you listen to the needs of the department heads, which says to us that you respect us, that you listen to us as your appointed and elected officials, and that is huge to us when we go back to our employees and tell them what you've done here today and what you do. And so, for once, I'm not going to do much more than say thank you. So, I thank you, and I thank all the departments that I work with, and hopefully I speak on behalf of the department heads when I say thank you for listening to us.
Thank you, Leanne. Anyone else have anything they'd like to offer? If not, presentations of communications and notices, Terry.
Michael Dahlhoff has submitted a letter of resignation effective immediately as a member of the Region 6 Fish and Wildlife Board, citing insufficient time to fulfill meeting obligations. Martinsburg Historical Society President Nelson Schwarzentrooper composed a letter expressing their appreciation for the board's generous support towards the restoration of the first Lewis County Clerk's office located in Martinsburg. The Lewis County Assessors Association endorsed the positions of the New York State Association related to the executive budget. They support making participation in the income verification program mandatory for enhanced star recipients, except for those seniors who do not file New York State income tax returns. Reporting requirements for mobile homes to improve the accuracy and taxation of those properties, and for the state determining assessment ceilings for telecommunication property while providing for gradual phasing in of the potential impact. However, the association opposes changing the methodology for assessing state-owned land due to the negative impact on local entities, and requiring filing of a form for co-op shares because Lewis County has no co-ops. They also affirmed their long-standing opposition to any new property tax exemptions. The board acknowledges of receipts of resolutions from the Essex County Legislature and the town of Bolton opposing the governor's proposal to change taxation of state forest reserve lands to a pilot system. The Essex County Legislature also opposes the governor's proposal to add a new taxation of forest land under a forest certification program while supporting implementation of his broadband initiative. The Schoharie County Legislature affirmed their support for increased state support for Cornell Cooperative County extensions. And that concludes correspondence.
Thank you. Reports of county officers and departments.
The Treasurer and Real Property Tax Director have submitted approved corrected tax roll applications for Stephen Dowling, Mary Ann McGrath, Lance Clemens, and Susan and William Dukeman. All legislators have received copies of the Public Health Department's 2017 annual report, the Treasurer's February report, the February 9, February 13, and February 26 highway audit reports, and the February 26 solid waste audit report. Also, minutes of the October 17 of 2017 Health Services Advisory Committee, the January 9 Community Services Board meeting minutes, and the February 21 Youth Bureau Advisory Board meeting. The Sealer of Weights and Measures, James Richmeyer, has submitted the February monthly report to be placed on file. And that concludes reports.
Thank you. Reports of standing committees. John, would you like to start with Social Services, Office
Thank you,
of the
Mr.
Aging
Chairman.
and Youth?
I'll start out with Lewis County Youth Bureau. The total for 2018 funds was $21,115. The Youth Bureau approved of issue a press release announcing the availability up to $14,000 to support programs for the youth under the age of 21. The $7,115 remaining, $600 will go towards administration expenses, and $6,515 to support Lewis County municipalities run recreational programs. And for the DDS, Mr. Chair, a second emergency heat benefit became available February 12, 2018. In order to qualify for the emergency benefits, a household must be eligible and receive a regular heat benefit and then have a shut-off notice or below 1/4 of a tank of fuel. The benefits are available until April 27th or until the funds are depleted. On February 19th, Maple Ridge Snow Park donated a morning of tubing fund for DSS foster parents, children and families and caseworkers. And that's my understanding, the second year in a row they did that, so that's very nice of them. The Department of Social Services has had a computer system upgrade and is now available to validate Social Security numbers in real time. This will allow the department to identify much faster than in the past. This and other enhancements are part of an effort by New York State to modernize and improve the efficiency of the local departments. And I have a motion, sir.
Okay.
John, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is that about the Office for the Aging?
The one, the motion? Yes.
Let's you and I connect on that first.
Okay.
Sorry.
Good.
I talked with Kelly this afternoon, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's my report, sir.
No, he's got just one motion, Ryan, and that's just to fill her specialist position, I
Yeah.
believe. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I was talking about the RFP.
Oh, okay.
I talked to you about. My
All
bad.
set then?
Yeah.
You're not done yet.
Motion to authorize Office for the Aging Director, Kelly Heckler, to fill a full-time specialist services for the aging effective immediately.
Do I have a second? Jerry, discussion?
I have one that says refill, right? Not new creation. Yes.
It's in the budget, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Anything else? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, John. Randy, taxation, elections, information technology.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you.
You want something to report?
No, I'm good.
Brian, County Officers, Veterans Junkyard, HR, and Brian's also going to cover Public Health and Community Services this month.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to apologize first if everyone see me fiddling with my phone up here. I'm not doing personal stuff. I lost Penny's report that she gave me for public health, and I thought I had it on my phone, and I lost it there too, so.
You're late.
Yeah. So anyways, what I remember in the reports that we got from Public Health, Penny gave us the quarterly reports for the Lewis County Public Health, like the Quality Assurance Report, which covers our immunization programs, covers the maternal child health programs, lead poisoning prevention program, which in the fourth quarter we had no cases managed for the children. The rabies program in the fourth quarter, let's see, trying to see, not very good at reading these graphs. We had 100% coverage of them. There was no post care or anything received. Early interventions. Then we had cancer services shown here, which with the rescreens and the screenings and everything. And let me go back one. And she gave us the Board of Health report also. So that covered the Board of Health reports, cover like our communicable disease investigations, all the way through mumps, flu, all that. So here in the first quarter of this year, there was 166 cases of influenza A, and there was 154 of influenza B. In the fourth quarter, we only had 9 cases of A, 3 of B, and none of the other types. And then the report also gives us the TB graphs and all them things. So, seeing how I fudged up on that for you. She also went through the health education programs. She went through the chronic disease preventions, like with diabetes and like that, to different groups. So that pretty much covers what Penny had handed out. She didn't really have much more than that, just going over the quarterly reports. In community services, Pat talked to us about different things. The Suicide Coalition here in Lewis County, they're organizing, they're in the process of putting together some volunteers and different things. I do believe we got some grant money for that, right, Pat?
Yes, the coalition got some grant money, and they're utilizing that to educate and train some volunteers and have a crisis response team, which will be done on a volunteer basis.
Thank you. And then Pat had brought up to us that our agencies that like Transitional Living Services and Mountain View are struggling with their funding and stuff. So she brought that up. And also, we're struggling retaining workers in these fields, the community services fields. So they're putting together, they put together a kind of a committee to come up, kind of see where the problems might lie and stuff, and maybe they can come up with a solution for that. So that would be it for community services and public health. HR, Chris, as always, is doing an outstanding job. He is, you know that before we've always been doing our training, we contracted out to SciTech. So Chris feels very comfortable with the experience he has and the training he has, that he's going to start doing the trainings for the different departments for supervisors and like that. So he gave us a sheet, and he's already got a list and dates of all these trainings, right from civil service overview for your department heads, all the way down through employee counseling and EAPs and stuff. So thank you for that, Chris. And then, of course, you have on the agenda, we have all the different things for the part-time DA, you have one for senior planner position, and then the extension of the heat, and John brought up the motion of the special services, which we approved. Junkyard, as we figured, now that they're out driving around and they're reporting cases, we've got about 15 to 20 violations. So this is the start of the storm that we're going to start to see for a while. So Ward's doing very well with that. So far, Don and Tim, they're doing an outstanding job, and actually I haven't heard it much, they have no grumbling or anything, they're doing very well with it. So, and then one other thing, I'm on the Cooperative Extension Board. Haven't been able to make the meetings because we're working out of town, so I'm not back early enough to get there. But I just wanted to bring up that the Maple Weekends are coming up here a week from Saturday. I don't need to check my calendar. I think it's the 17th and 18th and 23rd and 24th, I think, correct? So just wanted, that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Brian. Jerry, Ways and Means, Buildings and Grounds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion, and I'm making a motion to award the low bid of $18,917.96 to Siemens for replacement of a 200-gallon water tank at Public Safety Building pending the required approval by New York State Commissions of Corrections. What we got is hot water up there. We need the capacity, and the storage tank is failed, so we'd like to replace that.
I have a motion, second, John. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Thank you. Traveled to Plattsburgh for the inter-county meeting. There was a little discussion on EMS, what the towns and local entities might be able to do as far as, because we're losing EMS people and jurisdictions and stuff. That's still in the infancy stage. It hasn't come out. They're talking to Albany a little bit. Then got to tour the airport, the expansion they put there. Forgot exactly how many years ago they rebuilt it and expanded it, and essentially what's happened, they've met all the statistics, and they're just coming off of another expansion because of the increased volume and stuff like that. So it was interesting. It was a nice facility. Then for April, ended up in Lake George. We met there at the county facilities. One of the things that came up in the inter-county agencies where we said no, New York State taking over them pricing their state lands, and we want to keep it in our facilities. And what we did there is we toured the court system. They put an expansion on, pretty large facility to increase loads and stuff that they have there. They'll be moving in roughly, they said, mid-April. So it's kind of on a flat level where ours kind of went up because of space and stuff. They sprawled out, so you walk forever. And committee, not a whole lot's been going on. We're working on, got a conference call, I think coming up the 12th of March to discuss when they're going to start the interop channel for the radio system. We did have problem with paging. They replaced the repeater, sent the one out to be repaired when E.F. Johnson was out here. And we haven't tested it yet to see if it went back to where it was before, but it has improved. And that's all I have. Have a few resolutions in the packet, and when we get to them, we'll likely discuss them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Tom, we'll give you a pass this month. If you don't run away, we'll let you talk afterwards. Ron, Economic Development, Planning, Forestry, and Parks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Economic Development Plan is, the IDA has gone through this process of interviewing candidates for a new position on the development, and that was resolved and will be discussed later in the meeting with a new person on that board to try to, pursue a few more opportunities. As earlier mentioned, the Liberty Road Town Montague was approved and open for snowmobiling. Still going through the process of purchasing the Climax facility that's ongoing, and as well as a business park. And at some point, this may, I missed this, but there's going to be an opportunity, or it may have already been passed, on the Bald Mountain Road for ATV riding. Was that discussed earlier? I don't remember.
There is a, oh my goodness, sorry. You can turn mine down, Adam. There is a resolution in there, that's the easement with Mopus, that's the problem.
Thank you, John. And that's it, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Question clear, Ron, about the Climax building. Now, that has not been, there's no paperwork been signed. How's this bankruptcy, the filing bankruptcy going to affect that?
Well, that's been discussed, but at this point, it doesn't appear that it's going to be an issue, but...
Wouldn't that building be considered an asset to the specialty board paper?
It's not clear at this point right now.
Is the idea getting into a bankruptcy issue?
Again, in our last meeting, that was all discussed, and it's in the research stages, I guess I'd have to say, so I don't have a
So
clear
no
answer.
money's changed?
No, no.
Greg, just for further clarification, there is a signed purchase order. The Carthage Specialty Corp. is a separate corporation. They're both two separate corporations, but they are held by Umbrella Holding Company. And from what we understand, that issue with Carthage won't affect the purchase order for this building. So as far as we know, it's still on track.
Could there be an issue once that does go into bankruptcy court? Because it is under one entity. That'd be an asset to the corporation or the investment group.
I'm not a lawyer, but as far as I'm aware, that there's not supposed to be an effect. Carthage is not supposed to have an effect on this process.
Great.
Do you have anything you want to add to that?
I don't know specifically about their ownership relationship, but from my understanding, Carthage Paper is leasing space there now, not that they have some kind of ownership in it, but they will sort that all out in the bankruptcy court.
That's it for me. No
Thank you, Ron. Greg, course and law enforcement, emergency management.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I really don't have to speak about the district attorney's meetings because Leanne took care of that for me. Thank you, Leanne.
You're welcome.
The probation department, Mary Jo came in. She's got the senior probation officer, Ellen, is going to be retiring. And that she's going to be requesting that position to be replaced, her to replace that senior probation officer position, which would open up a probation officer, which we're going to discuss this more at our next meeting, because she is going to give up an accounts clerk position in June, when there's another retirement. And she also, which we have to be very aware of, is raise the age. The 16-year-olds could not be processed at the jail, which is going to create a problem. And she also, they cannot be housed at the jail anymore. So that's if they can be housed in a non-secure detention center, it's looking like it's gonna be about $350 a day, which is about 3 times what we're paying now for $110 for jail. But if they need a secure detention center, which is always possible, it's gonna be substantially greater. And it'll be not even close to our county. It looks like Westchester County, Buffalo, out of state, or even Canada to take these. So if it's $350 for non-secured, I can just imagine on secured charges. So we have to be aware of that, raise the age coming upon us. Its imposed date is 10/1/2018. Bob McKenzie's report was good. We're having a follow-up meeting about the Mill Creek erosion and identifying mitigating solutions. That was quite a disaster down there. And Bob handled it well. And the sheriff. I've got 2 motions for the sheriff's department. And I'll give you the motions now. Motion to authorize Sheriff Carpinelli to refill a part-time dispatcher correctional officer position due to a promotion. So it's refill one that's already there.
So motion, Ryan seconds, discussion.
Yeah, when we went full-time, I thought we solved the problem with part-time. So why are we filling the part-time? I don't quite understand it.
Because remember, you needed to be able to cover vacation.
We just, okay, maybe I'm wrong on that, but we just put a full-timer on who's supposed to take care of a lot of those problems.
There you go, Sheriff.
I'm just asking, because...
Remember, we went through this at the committee meeting.
Right, and Joan and, whatchamacallit explained how it was gonna cut down on overtime and stuff like that, and I thought it was filling with us hiring another one by going full-time, so I'm confused, that's all.
This is just refilling the part-time, not full-time.
Well, we just put part-time on, didn't we?
No, we promoted.
Mr. Chairman, if I could interject just for a second. Jerry, I think the purpose of filling the part-timer is to make sure that the sheriff has the additional part-timer backups, because they do have to be trained. We did fill that full-time position, so hopefully that's going to lessen the amount of hours that the part-timers are using, because they were exceeding those numbers that we were a bit concerned about. So, but he still has to have some part-timers filled in and trained in case he needs to use them, and hopefully they'll be less than the 30 hours a week.
But that was, what we were told is by putting the second person on full-time, it was gonna cut a lot of that out, so.
It's going to cut it out, but he has to have the trained people there to fill those spots.
If he's gotta use them, it's not gonna be overtime for this person then, just basic time more than likely.
That's what we're anticipating, right, Sheriff?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I went to the meeting for that raise the age. It was very interesting, just very learning experience from Danny King, who really doesn't support us at all. And I think most people there, Leanne, was kind of confused about where we're going with this.
Confusing because Albany has not really set specific answers, particularly in regard to the financing of it. So the facilities don't exist that they need us to be at. And like anything else, until it starts, how it's going to work is always that unknown factor. It was a proposal that not everyone met with happiness and joy. So it is what it is. We have to deal with it, and we'll react to it. And the housing situation is problematic all over the state, so it's going to be a problem It's just, it's going to be very difficult for the smaller counties in the rural areas, and in particular for very upstate, Franklin County, all those areas are going to be very significantly troubled by this concept. So those of us don't think it was well thought out, but.
If I could add to that too, on the back of the day, you realize right now all these false, or I don't want to say false so far, for the dial-in for the school tax. Most are done by females. Now, it's going to be anybody from 18 on down, a lot of times. And then we charge with terroristic threat, if I'm correct, Madam DA?
Yes.
Could be.
You
Which
can,
means-
I just had a thread about the argument about that charge, but yes, right now, yeah.
You can't have-
In how many counties recently, yeah. And so the question is whether or not, that's secure housing or non-secure housing, how they'll be charged, and it's implemented over a 2-year system, 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds. So it's going to have its challenges like any new law, and the burden will be placed on everybody else. There's going to be burdens on town justices to receive some training. There's going to be burdens on the county court system. There's going to be burdens on the police. There's going to be burdens on everybody. And then, for the state to reimburse, we're all familiar with the speed with which they reimburse. So I want to be polite.
Thank you.
You got a motion.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
This motion is to authorize Sheriff Carpinelli to start recruitment to refill a full-time cook at the jail due to an impending April retirement.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Brian? Discussion?
I have a question. We put 2 part-timers up there, and when and if they were going to be able to handle it, so, I mean,
That was before the,
well, Dick,
we
am I
didn't
wrong?
discuss, we didn't
in
discuss
that
that at
discussion?
committee.
Or sheriff?
Yes.
When we hired the 2 part-timers for cooks, we were going to be able to handle it without replacing the full-timer?
Will they be able to? I can't hear you from there.
No, when we hired the second part-time cook, when the one retired, the 2 part-timers were supposed to be able to handle it. Am I wrong? That's what we hired the second one for.
You mean to handle a full-time position that will be retiring?
Yes, between the 2 of them.
Well, something else has come up in the last 2 days of a visit to my office, so I'll discuss that with you on Thursday
Okay.
walk committee. How's that?
That sounds
We
good.
may have a
Thank you.
solution. We'll see how it works out.
So is this motion valid or not?
Let's leave it, let's table it. We'll leave it till after the committee, come back to the board next month.
I'll second his tabling motion.
Okay. What motion to table has been seconded? Do we need to vote on that, Mary?
Yes.
Okay. In favor? Opposed? Motion's tabled.
Yeah. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Greg. Dick, hospital?
Yes, and try to keep it short. We had employee of the month for January is Mrs. Tina Gigliotti, and she's an RN in the maternity department. Does an excellent job. Keeps all the mothers and babies feeling very good about themselves. And then for February, we had Yasmin Rice, who is a CNA in the nursing home. This employee has a very refreshing, positive attitude every single day that she comes to work. You can always find her with a smile on her face and a helping hand. She goes above and beyond for any resident she is taking care of. She's kind, compassionate, and has empathy for all. This employee is the most kind and caring person. Despite any negative or chaos around her, she remains positive. So if you see either of these folks around, please congratulate them on their employee of the month. And we have had a couple of meetings on our $22 million New York State Department of Health, statewide healthcare facility transformation program. We've had about approximately 30 to 40 individuals that were in attendance and listened to Jerry Care presentation of that. The whole thing is predicated on us applying for a grant for that project, and if we get the grant, then we can move forward. If we don't get the grant, we try. That concludes my report.
Any questions for Dick? Go ahead.
Dick, if you don't receive the grant up there, is there a plan in place to like do general upgrades and stuff like that? Do you have that in place?
Pieces of this will be
Okay.
done,
All right,
yes.
thank you.
You won't see a big new building.
Right, but I mean, as far as,
Yeah. One of ours is trying to figure out in the acute care how to get individual rooms for the patients as opposed to double and we have a ward room. So that would be looked at if we don't get this whole thing.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Andrea, Transportation Solid Waste, and Andrea would also has a report for soil and water.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I have three motions. One is to authorize the Highway Superintendent, David Becker, to fill 10 full-time temporary seasonal workers in either grade or grade 15, pursuant to civil service rules and regulations effective immediately.
I have a motion, second by John. Discussion.
These are the bridge crew?
No.
Summer help?
Summer.
Just a summer help, okay.
Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I have another motion to award bids for sand, gravel, crushed stone, concrete based on project location in accordance with the tabulation of all bids prepared by the Highway Superintendent and placed on file with the Clerk of the Board for the period of April 1st, 2018 to March 31st, 2019.
I have a motion, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I have another motion to award the low bid for crushing stone to Linedecker Excavation in the amount of $4.19 per cubic yard for the period of April 1st, 2018 to March 31st, 2019.
I have a motion, second by John. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, my report for the highway is, we have started the application process for Bridge New York. Last year, we were accepted for the Blue Street Bridge. We hope to get the High Market Bridge and 2 culverts on the West Road in Tooling. Bid openings for the Jordan Falls and Blue Street bridges are on March 27th, and construction will begin in the summer. The parts for the fuel system is here, and the contracting will give us time for installation, and Adam's department will be assisting. And David spoke with Ward Daly about the pole barn repairs, and we are waiting for new quotes as the last quotes did not meet standards. Okay, for soil and water.
Did you have a question, Greg?
Yeah, well, I was just wondering about, you put that out for bid, right, the three bids for the pole barn. Then I had a question from, which probably Dave will please with me. I had a question from up there in Martinsburg board. They're talking about the storm drains in Glenfield. All right, it's on our county road. Are
Right.
those our responsibility?
The storm drains out of the water and sewers.
Right. He was talking about how they're gonna be doing that work down there. Are we able to do some work on the storm drains there?
I think the whole thing needs to be re-engineered. It's such an old system, and pieced together in so many different places. I think the whole thing needs to be re-engineered and accomplished, when we decide to do that.
Because they are looking at doing that work this year, putting on new laterals. If you talk to
Yeah, Tyler started doing that last year.
yeah, he's just, I think they're wondering about whether we're gonna replace those storm drains, because I think they feel that there's some infiltration into for their wastewater.
I'll meet with Tyler on that, talk to him about it.
Okay, thanks.
Also, Andrea, the New Street Bridge bid opening, I believe is on the 21st, and the Jordan Falls is on the 27th.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, this is solid waste. Solid waste would like to have Gillies from Napa Auto Parts install a tank in the garage at the Ludlow Transfer Station for delivery of DEF fluid oil. It is used as an additive to diesel motors. They will install the tank for us. We pay nothing and we will save approximately $1 a gallon. We currently purchase this from Gillies in a 55-gallon drum, and the county attorney is reviewing the agreement. Okay. As our cost for the price of clear bags to sell to residents has increased, we are requesting an increase in the price we sell them for by $1 per box of 13-gallon bags to $19, and 50 cents per box of the 39-gallon bags to $18. Also, motion number 102 has been withdrawn because Dave wants to meet with us to try to resolve the issue of a recycling fee. Any questions?
Any questions from Andrea? Dick?
The purpose of that tank is to save us the $1 a gallon.
I got one more question on the highway end of it. You're talking about repairs on the pumps again?
We're installing a new system. Right,
It's
Dave?
the communication system from the pumps.
From the pumps, you're not
Through the
replacing the
shop,
pumps
to
yet?
the office, so we can build properly.
So have you looked at the Tops Plaza? Are you think you?
Everything is stopped there right now. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what's going on with the bankruptcy.
Right.
If that's why they stopped their work or what.
Do you think?
Looking at it, I'm not real convinced it's gonna be
Usable?
a safe machine.
So then are you gonna start looking into replacing your fuel system?
Well, we're replacing it one piece at a time right now.
Yeah, I know. And I think that's more costly than replacing it all at once, piecemeal it.
So I think, Greg, that needs to be part of our 5-year capital plan that we're gonna be building. Part of my report is to talk about the burning your car study, which they're gonna be here next month to talk about.
Next month?
In April, yeah.
Oh,
So
it's only 4 months past due.
So from there, we can build a 5-year capital plan to, outlay what we want to do with all of our buildings.
Well, we might not have 5 years on that fuel tank system. Though.
Well, then it needs to be part of year 1 of the capital outlay, or year 2 then.
Well, I think we ought to start thinking about it now.
Yeah, but
Just bring back the discussion, because we'd rather have that than the DEC breathing down our neck saying you gotta have it done today.
yeah, I agree.
Only 4 months after burning the car.
Thank you, Andrea.
I still have a report from Michelle from Soil and Water. The annual meeting of Lewis County Soil and Water Conservation District and Water Quality and Coordinating Committee is being held on March 20th, 2018 at the Brick Oven Inn in Beaver Falls, beginning at 11 o'clock. And all legislators have been invited to this. On the The 8th Annual Black River Watershed Conference will be held June 12, 2018 at Camp Tur in Woodgate, Oneida County. And the conference will discuss issues affecting the Black River watershed in Lewis, Jefferson, Herkimer, Oneida, and Hamilton counties. And the guest speaker will be meteorologist and Professor David Eichhorn, and he will be discussing changing weather in a changing climate. The district currently is providing technical assistance to the village of Constableville, the town of Martinsburg, and several landowners in the village and town of Wildville along the Mill Creek to address significant stream bank erosion from the January thaw. It is likely that there will be a grant application to eligible programs on behalf of the landowners along the Mill Creek to protect their stream banks from further erosion. On behalf of the Lewis County Agricultural Society, the Soil and Water was awarded a competitive grant for $575,000 through the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation to install green infrastructure practices at the Lewis County Fairgrounds, and construction will begin after the fair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, can I just add something?
Thank you,
I'm not going to. I've been working with Michelle from Soil and Water because I have the pleasure of being, by law, the attorney for Soil and Water for the district. So I am in fact doing some of the documents that they're going to be required under that grant, which is similar to the GIGP grant we got for the DSS parking lot project. So fortunately, I have some experience with it because Soil and Water doesn't own the land, the Ag Society does, so it's a little bit more involved in terms of the number of contracts and documents that have to be generated for that grant to be approved and for the funds to be awarded. But I also know that Frank was instrumental in working with them to get that grant approved, so it's really going to benefit the fairgrounds.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Oh, Dick, sorry.
Yeah, I've got a question, I guess, for Andrea and Michelle. The landowners along Mill Creek, when you use that term, just so everybody knows, I'm a landowner along Mill Creek. For the last 25 years, I've spent my own money hiring equipment and stuff to maintain the bank. So is the goal for every landowner along Mill Creek, or is it just for a couple of local ones here lately who have been complaining? What's the goal of being included in that?
I think
I don't think she's here, but Dick, I believe that you can contact her, and I think any landowners along, if she's making the application for the grant, she would want to hear from all the landowners, and you might even be able to recoup some of that.
Because I can tell you, there's a lot of damage there this year.
We've been assessing it. Michelle, I wasn't able to make the last meeting that Michelle had with the village and DEC and Fish and Wildlife. I think it was last Friday, I believe they had. But we had been working on it. There were prior grants that we had put in for stream bank stabilization. At a certain point along there, I think it was a couple thousand linear feet that we were looking at initially to try to help out with some of the significant erosion. But we based what we just done within the last month is we had the drone flights that we were able to go over top of the entire section of Mill Creek.
From where to where, Frank, just so I
From
understand?
starting from up above DSS, we actually took off from the DSS facility and basically
That's not Mill
videoed.
Creek up at DSS.
No,
Mill
it's-
Creek is
no.
under the high bridge on Dan Street.
No, what I'm saying is we took off from
Oh,
that
okay.
facility. And we were able to, from that facility, we were able to video the entire Mill Creek area and its tributaries all the way down to roughly to the bridge at 12, because we had finished from the bridge, or from From the
town,
east,
yeah.
yeah, from the East State Street up, we had to segment it, but because of the drone's, ability to fly.
So you
for
flew it
certain areas.
from Dan Street Extension or
Yeah,
Route 12 all the way
from the
down
beginning, all the way down. And Michelle, we went over it with, she had a video, we went over it and looked at the areas of significant erosion, and she's been working on that, continuing to put together a program. We've also been working with emergency management on that too, to see if there was some type of funding that we might be able to get as we move forward with the project, so.
With all due respect, I suggest that we contact or put something in the paper to each landowner along Mill Creek. If you've got something for that, they ought to all be eligible or at least be included in their problems in that issue.
It's certainly something that we, I can bring up to Michelle, and we're all working on it as a
And
group.
probably the village also would have put something out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Joan, for being the attorney of record on that. Only thing I can offer is a reward is in heaven.
I have a lot of spare time.
I have a couple items. First item is I've heard some comments about the inability of people to hear us in the back of the room. So if we would try to do a better job using our mics, I think that would be appreciated. Secondly, we were supposed to attend the REDC meeting in Plattsburgh, or Lake Placid last Friday because of the storm that was canceled. The only item of interest that was on the agenda for us, and at least, is the fact that the CFA for the Cove Dam has been withdrawn. We could not put together a viable package there, so the request for funding through the CFA process for that project has been withdrawn. So with that, moving on to the county manager report. Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I mentioned before, Bringer Carr has finished the space study. We met earlier today to go over the draft, and I asked them to add a few more things that I think would be helpful from the data that they have. And they'll be here next month to give a presentation on the report. And then I think the plan should be that our Ways and Means Committee should start making part of their regular committee meetings a subcommittee, or maybe extend those meetings a little bit to talk about really creating a 5-year capital plan. A lot of what you're going to hear next month, or next month, is that you're going to see a lot of end of life. A lot of things that we have are at the end of their useful life. And that's okay. We're in a position where we can afford to make some repairs, but we need to have a plan for how we want to approach that. So I think this will be a great jumping off point for building a real 5-year capital outlay plan that we can go forward with. Another initiative that we're working on is called P-Cards. I know that Liz had brought this up previously before. We are one of the last counties in New York State that when we send our folks off to conferences and other such things, we send them with vouchers. We'd like to get a system together where our department heads can use credit cards that we have appropriate oversight over, and also through the P-Card system we can earn rewards, cash back basically on purchases. There's 12 counties in New York State that are using this system. St. Lawrence County and Jefferson County are among them, and it's an easy way to pay some bills and get some money back from them. So we'll put together a presentation for the full board. It went to Ways and Means at the last Ways and Means Committee meeting, and everyone seemed to be in favor of continuing to explore it. So we'll put together a presentation and bring it for the full board in the months to come. Our insurance committee, that is made up of hospital staff, county staff, and our union membership, met again last month, and we had talked about some of the specifics in executive session last week. Those specifics have been largely agreed to by both groups, and we're going to have some resolutions before the board next month, making some changes to the health insurance plans that will hopefully benefit all the parties involved. Our outdoor recreation presentation group that we have put together with the Chamber of Commerce and the IDA and the Sheriff's Department, Trails and Rec Department, went to Turin 2 weeks ago and gave our first presentation about outdoor recreation and the importance of accepting that in our community, and I think it went quite well. We've since been invited to Lions Falls to talk to that community on March 26th, and I got an email today from the Tug Hill Commission. They would like us to give our presentation at their annual meeting, which is on April 26th. So we'll hit most of our communities through this presentation, which I think is a good thing. Just a brief update on the solar project. The plan this week is for Green Skies to turn the project over to National Grid. They have been working very closely, especially in the last month or so since we've been on to get this project complete. They've been working very closely, and hopefully the project will be turned over to National Grid and they can go forward with their steps for energizing the project. And we're still hopeful that we can have it complete by the end of the month. And that's my report.
Thank you, Ryan. We have the Patty. Oh, sorry. Dick?
Ryan, can you speak to the Bernie and Carr thing a little more? Sure. Do you anticipate that coming to committee this month?
Yes. I was thinking that the Ways and Means Committee would review the report because we do have the books.
Yeah.
And then, but I assume that the full board would want a presentation from BCA on what the work that they were able to do and the conclusions that they made. So I invited them to come to the April meeting. I was thinking the Ways and Means Committee could just go over the books, but I suppose we could invite them to that as well.
No, that's not necessary. I just wondered, okay. And then after that, we'll have to have some way that the 10 of us sit down and go through it. Okay.
Sure.
Good.
So one of the initiatives that I'm really excited about is we have departmentally put together some 5-year capital plans. You know, if you talk to Dave or Jenny, they have ideas of what they're going to need over the next 5 years, but we've never really had a tangible county plan, and that is something that we really need to develop. The hospital just put together a 10-year capital outlay, actually, and they put that out to the board, and we need to be doing things in the same vein. So I hope that we can really use this report as a jumping off point to get a 5-year capital outlay together.
Okay, thank you.
Right?
Ryan, on the solar project, how far behind are we on this right now?
Well, the original contract said that it was supposed to be energized in November. Is that correct, Frank?
December.
December. And then they had pushed us back again to tell us that it was going to be mid-January, if you recall. And then they told us it'd be an additional 6 weeks. So we are confident at this point that we are looking to conclusion at the end of the month.
All right, so by the time this goes online, we're 3 months into not being energized. What's our net losses on not having that energized on time?
Well, and that's why we discussed with Joan in executive session, I think, last month or the month before, about potentially pursuing some legal remedy to that because, as you rightly point out, we missed out on revenue over that period.
Thank you.
Dick?
Yeah, I'd like to offer a little different interpretation of the lost money. I believe we're still going to have a 20-year contract, which was our original deal. So if we started last December 1st on a 20-year contract, it would have gone to a set date. Now, we also looked in there, and Niagara-Mohawk rates were going to be fairly flat through that 20-year period. Doesn't look to be the case right now from the papers I'm reading and stuff. Niagara-Mohawk looks like they're going up. So even though we're back what looks like 4 months, on the other end, with NIMO rates higher, which gives us more money, we might be about the same place we're at.
Okay. Yeah. That's fine.
Any other questions for Ryan? Thank you, Ryan. Patty, treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The balances for this month are special legislative contingency, $99,381.46. Contingency, $395,941.03. Capital data processing, $116,573.67. Capital equipment, highway portion, $207,379.85. County portion, $527,042.18. Sales tax, the final 2017 figures came in, and you can see we came in at $11,917,072.57. So we were over budget by the $1,092,072.57. Hospital repayments are on schedule. The balance due is $1 million. Internal Service Fund, December balances were in, and it was not a good month, but overall, we did close out the year with a fund balance increase of around $700,000. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Patty? Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, before we move into resolutions, we have a public hearing open on the floor. Is there any comments at this point on either one of those issues, either the County Route 28 Liberty Road or the Hugh property in the village of Olive? If not, at this time, I will close that public hearing. And moving on to resolutions.
The Ways and Means Committee reports they've examined the claims presented for payment in the total amount of $897,248.03 and recommend that they be audited and allowed for the amounts claimed.
Moved by Brian, seconded by John. Roll call.
No, that's just a motion to accept the report.
I must be missing a page. Okay, motion to accept. Second. All in discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
The first resolution then is to audit and allow the claims for $897,248.03.
Moved by John, second by Randy.
That's a roll call. Now you do a roll call.
Now we need a roll call.
Roll call. Burns,
Yes.
Chartrand,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Causer,
Yes.
LaChose,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Mowerhand,
Yes.
Mosher,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Dahlhoff.
Yes.
Authorizing inclusion of certain agriculturally viable land into a certified agricultural district and negative declaration determination.
Moved by Brian, second by Randy. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Appointing member to the Community Services Board.
Moved by Jerry, second by Greg. Discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Support Lewis County Suicide Prevention Coalition developing a community crisis response team.
Moved by Brian, second by John. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Calling on the Office of Alcoholism and Substance Abuse Services and the Governor to provide state funding to support the treatment and transition services to individuals with substance use disorders who are incarcerated in county jails.
Moved by Jerry, second by Ron. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Amending compensation plan with reference to district attorney.
Moved by Brian, second by Jerry. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Appointing member to Region 6 Fish and Wildlife Management Board.
Moved by Brian, second by John. Any discussion? This is railroad, so it's all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing engineering services agreement between the Highway Department and Barton and LaJudas.
Moved by Jerry, second by Ron. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Amending compensation plan with reference to County Highway Department.
Moved by Brian, second by John. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Carries.
Appointing member to North Country Home Consortium Board.
Moved by Brian, second by Greg. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Carries.
Amending compensation plan with reference to Lewis County General Hospital.
Moved by Dick, second by Ron. Discussion?
Are these new positions, Dick?
Well,
The director of infection control.
the HVAC, let's do the HVAC first if I can. That is a new position, but we're abolishing a full-time building maintenance worker, which is a wonderful one. It's environmental services and infection control, as I understand it, and we abolished the supervisory position in environmental services. We're combining the two areas now. And this has been at the state, as I understand it, for a year. And jump in, Chris, but they aren't getting back to us now for another period of time, right? They haven't looked at it yet.
Well, no, they have looked at it. This is a combination of two positions into one. And it was a very lengthy review that they did, but this one's been resolved.
This one's resolved, okay. So we can fill, okay. So this second one just actually consummates something that we've done waiting for a year for this to work out.
I have one question on HVAC system. I mean, essentially, it's dropping one body, but the cost is the same. I would assume.
The cost will stay the same, but we're going to avoid quite a bit of outside work agency that has to come in. It's basically what we did here at the courthouse here. We have an HVAC mechanic here now who can do the work that we used to call Siemens, Train, and a lot of the other ones in. So it's going to be a cost avoidance in some outside higher labor than what our in-house HVAC guys going to be.
Okay, thank you.
They require certification like in Freon and refrigeration and stuff. Otherwise, you can't do it at all. So this will allow that person to be trained and certified.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorizing an MOU between the county and the hospital for debt reimbursement to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
Moved by Jerry, second by Randy. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorizing an agreement with Advanced 2000 for upgrade to the county's phone system, servers, and components.
Moved by Jerry, second by Andrea. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Carries.
To transfer funds, information technology.
Moved by Randy, second by Jerry. Discussion? Carries. Whoops. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Amending compensation plan with reference to planning department.
Moved by Greg, second by Andrea.
Discussion?
This is a person that already works here, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So this is subject to test too, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Authorizing addendum to agreement with Clark Patterson Lead Design Professionals for lead engineering consultant services required under the Local Government Efficiency Implementation Grant awarded to the Southern Lewis County Regional Water Program.
Moved by Jerry, second by Ron. Discussion? Jerry?
I have one question, and I just want to clarify it. This is the old contract we're working off. We had some money left over, and we've had other individuals that didn't want to participate earlier interested in participating now.
Correct.
So it's the
It's the same
original
contract. Same.
funding with money left over. We're still under what we got before.
Yes.
We'll bring those other entities in, because it's kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah, the amount here is, some of that has already been spent, or?
Yeah.
Yes, we've completed 2 years, and we're into our third year of the program. We've had, as Legislator King said, we've had another municipality that wanted to come on board for us to help them try to correct some of the water issues. So we're able to still cover that under that existing grant.
Sounds good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Authorizing request for proposals for architectural, engineering, and construction services for the Lewis County JCC Educational Center.
Moved by John, second by Jerry. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorizing agreement with New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services and probation for the Ignition Interlock Program.
Moved by Jerry, second by John. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Carries.
Authorizing contract with New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services.
Moved by Brian, second by Jerry. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Using Governor Cuomo's proposal contained in the budget review bill to change the law regarding taxation of state forest preserve lands from the current locally assessed system to a payment in lieu of taxes system administered and controlled solely by the state.
Moved by Jerry, second by Randy. Any discussion?
Just so everyone knows, your Adirondack Park local government is against this. The APA is actually against this. Being that I'm on the local government review board now, been getting a lot of emails. Pretty much everyone's against this. So,
We've had this work.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay, in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorizing agreement with MWF Adirondacks LLC, that's the Mopus Woodlands Group, for a temporary access easement along the abandoned Bald Mountain Road in the town of Diana for the county's motorized ATV recreational trail system.
Moved by Jerry, second by Brian. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Authorizing the opening of a section of County Route 28 to Lewis County Snowmobile Trail.
Moved by Brian, second by Jerry. Discussion? Jerry?
Yeah, I just had one question for clarification. This is permanent or temporary because of what happened this year? I don't remember.
I believe permanent, Jackie.
Permanent request.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Authorizing agreement with Technological Services Group, and the County Department of Recreation, Forestry, and Parks.
Moved by Randy, second by Ron. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing an agreement between the county and Langone and Associates.
Moved by Jerry, second by John. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing an extension agreement between the county and United Radio for ongoing preventive maintenance on the public safety emergency communication system.
Moved by Brian, second by Jerry. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorizing and ratifying memorandum of agreement with the Sheriffsboro Patrol Unit represented by the United Public Service Employees Union.
Moved by Dick, second by Ron. Discussion. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Amending compensation with reference to social services.
Moved by John, seconded by somebody. Dick. Discussion. Oh,
This must be for the, this must be for the, he could extend that much longer.
all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorizing an agreement between social services and the Resolution Center of Jefferson and Lewis counties.
Moved by Andrew, second by Randy. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Authorizing memorandum of understanding, Department of Social Services and the Resource Center for Independent Living for Consumer-Directed Personal Assistance Program.
Moved by Greg, second by Brian. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Carries.
Authorizing equipment loan agreement with Solid Waste Department and Gillies Auto Truck and Marine.
Moved by Brian, second by Greg. Discussion.
Joan, you reviewed, there's no problem with this, right?
It's fine, I reviewed it.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Resolution number 102 has been withdrawn. 103, authorizing the sale of clear bags and setting the fee at the transfer stations.
Moved by Brian, second by Jerry. Discussion.
Is this just our cost for the bags?
I believe it just that the price went up from wholesale.
So this is our cost, okay?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, stop DWI.
Moved by Jerry, second by Brian. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution approving correction of tax bill.
Moved by Greg, second by John. Discussion.
Do we do this every year?
I believe we do, don't we? Okay.
It's the same thing with
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing an extension to the Federal Transit Operating Assistance Agreement, New York State DOT, and the county for the Lewis County Public Transportation System.
Moved by Jerry, second by Greg. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution to appropriate funds Workforce Investment Act.
Moved by Ron, second by Brian. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Carried.
appointing member to Lewis County Youth Bureau.
Moved by Brian, second by Dick. Discussion, in favor, opposed, motion carries.
Appointing a member to the Lewis County Youth Bureau.
Moved by Randy, second by Greg. Discussion, in favor, opposed, carries.
Authorizing 2018 resource allocation plan with New York State Office of Children and Family Services.
Moved by Andrew, second by John. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Carries.
Relate resolutions 111, appointing member to Lewis County IDA Board of Directors.
Moved by Brian, second by Greg. Discussion.
Ron, how did this, were there notices put out and did people apply for
Yes,
this?
there were 3 applicants.
And did you interview
Yes.
3 applicants?
Yes.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Oh, show Dick opposed, sorry Dick.
To appoint member to Community Services Board.
Moved by Andrea, second by Greg. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Appointing member to Public Health Professional Advisory Health Services Committee.
Moved by Brian, second by Randy. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries.
To appoint member to Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Directors.
Moved by Andrea, second by Jerry. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Carries.
To appoint member to Youth Bureau Advisory Board.
Moved by Randy, second by Andrea. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes resolutions.
Okay, do we have anything further on the list? Executive session? No?
The executive session would be to advise the board of some litigation matters.
Okay, do I have a motion to go into executive session? Ron, second by Dick. All those in favor? And we'll take a 5-minute break before we do that.